Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly focused on yourself? Not on your job, not on your relationships, not on what others expect from you, but on you. Your growth, your peace, your purpose. Most people live their lives externally focused. They scroll through social media, comparing their worst moments to someone else's highlight reel. They chase validation, counting likes as if they define self-worth. They let the opinions of strangers dictate their happiness. But here's the truth. The more you focus on yourself, the stronger your mind becomes. Why? Because self-improvement isn't found in comparison. Mental resilience isn't built through external approval. True confidence, true control, and true freedom come from within. Look at the greatest thinkers, creators, and athletes in history. Do you think they wasted their energy worrying about what others thought? No, they focused inward, they trained their minds, they mastered self-discipline. They understood that real power isn't given, it's forged through relentless self-mastery. So stop chasing distractions, stop looking for validation, stop giving power to things that don't serve your growth. Instead, focus on yourself, improve, train, learn, become stronger every single day. Because the more energy you invest in yourself, the more unshakable you become. And now I want to hear from you. What's one moment when focusing on yourself changed your life? Drop your story in the comments, because your journey might just inspire someone else to start theirs. If this message resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build a community of people who choose inner strength over external noise. 1. Are you living or just existing? Most people don't ask themselves this question. They wake up, follow routines, do what's expected, and repeat, day after day, year after year. They mistake motion for progress, activity for purpose. But deep inside, something feels off. A quiet voice in the back of their mind whispers, "Is this all there is?" Existing is easy. It requires nothing but survival. Waking up, working, eating, sleeping. But living? Living takes awareness. Living takes effort. It means making decisions that align with who you really are instead of what the world expects of you. It means actively shaping your life rather than passively drifting through it. The problem is that most people don't even realize they're stuck. They convince themselves that being busy means being productive. They fill their days with obligations, distractions, and other people's priorities. But when the noise fades, when they're alone with their thoughts, they feel the emptiness creeping in. Jack was one of those people. At 42, he had everything that should have made him happy: a steady job, a house, and financial stability. He had followed the path laid out for him: study hard, get a good job, and climb the corporate ladder. And yet, something felt wrong. Every day felt the same. He couldn't remember the last time he felt excited about waking up. One evening, he reconnected with an old friend, someone who had taken a completely different path. This friend had traveled, started businesses, mastered new skills, and lived fully. Jack listened to his stories and realized something painful. He had spent decades playing it safe, doing what was expected, never taking risks. For the first time, he understood that he had wasted years and that he could never get back. This is the fate of those who simply exist. They wait for the right time to do what they really want. They tell themselves they'll start next year, after they save more money, after they get that promotion, after life settles down. But the truth is, life never settles, and waiting only leads to regret. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He was right. The real tragedy is not death. It's never truly living in the first place. So how do you break free? How do you shift from existing to living? The first step is clarity. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. That's why so many people drift aimlessly, trapped in routines that bring them no joy. The Stoics believed in defining your values and deciding what actually matters to you, not to your parents, not to society, but to you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, stop debating, stop overthinking, and start living with intention. But be warned, living intentionally is harder than existing passively. Existing is comfortable. It's easy to stay in a job you hate because it's familiar. It's easy to keep toxic friends because you fear being alone. It's easy to numb yourself with distractions instead of facing your reality. But nothing great was ever built from comfort. The strongest minds, the most successful people, none of them got there by choosing the easy path. They chose to live deliberately, to challenge themselves, to grow. And that's why they became extraordinary. You don't need to make drastic changes overnight, but you do need to take action. The key is to start small, but start today. Identify what truly matters to you and take one step, just one, in that direction. Want to write? Write a single page. Want to get in shape? Do one workout. Want to learn a skill? Spend 10 minutes practicing. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. Every step you take toward an intentional life makes you stronger. Every decision to prioritize yourself over meaningless distractions builds your inner power. Most people will never do this. They will hear these words, nod in agreement, and then go right back to their routines. They will stay comfortable and keep waiting for someday. But a rare few, will take this as the wake-up call they've needed. They will realize that time is slipping away, that their life is theirs to shape. And they will decide, enough. It's time to start living. Which one will you be? 2. The comparison trap is stealing your life. Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt like your life wasn't enough? You see someone traveling the world, another person with the perfect body, someone else buying their dream house. You start questioning yourself. Why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? Suddenly, what you have feels small, and what they have seems like everything you lack. This is the trap of comparison, and it's stealing your life, your peace, and your confidence. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy self-worth. It tricks you into believing that success is a race, that happiness is measured against someone else's achievements, and that your progress means nothing unless it outshines others. But here's the truth. No matter how much you accomplish, if you live by comparison, you will always feel behind. There will always be someone richer, someone more successful, someone further ahead. The finish line keeps moving, and the more you chase, the emptier you feel. It's a game designed for you to lose. Social media has made this worse than ever before. You don't just compare yourself to friends or colleagues anymore. You compare yourself to the entire world. You see curated highlights, carefully edited photos, and lives that seem effortless. But you don't see the sacrifices, the failures, the doubts behind those images. You don't see the debt behind the luxury vacations, the insecurity behind the fitness photos, the anxiety behind the success stories. What you see is only the illusion of perfection, and your brain, no matter how logical you think you are, absorbs it as reality. This is why so many people feel stuck, not because they aren't making progress, but because they are measuring their journey against a fantasy that doesn't exist. This isn't just an emotional issue. Science backs it up. Studies in psychology show that constant comparison activates the brain's reward system in the wrong way, triggering feelings of inadequacy and increasing anxiety. The more you compare, the more your brain rewires itself to seek external validation instead of internal growth. Instead of focusing on what actually matters, your own discipline, your own journey, you become obsessed with keeping up with others. And yet, no matter how hard you try, it never feels like enough. The Stoics understood this long before social media existed. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The true problem isn't what others have, it's the belief that you need to measure up to them at all. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Meaning, your suffering doesn't come from the fact that someone else is ahead. It comes from your perception that you are behind. And that perception is something you can control. Ryan learned this the hard way. He was a musician, deeply passionate about his craft. But the moment he started comparing himself to other artists, everything changed. Instead of playing for joy, he played to compete. Instead of creating music that fulfilled him, he created music that he thought would impress others. The more he scrolled through social media, the more inadequate he felt. He saw musicians with massive audiences, with sold-out shows, and suddenly his progress felt meaningless. Even though he was improving, even though he was doing something he loved, comparison stole his passion. One day, he found himself sitting in silence, unable to play, wondering why he even started in the first place. It wasn't until he stepped away from the noise that he found his way back. He stopped looking sideways. He stopped playing to be better than others and started playing because he loved it again. And strangely, once he let go of the need to measure up, he actually improved faster than ever before. Because when you stop focusing on what others are doing, you regain control of your energy. You channel it into growth, into discipline, into things that actually make you better. If you want to escape the comparison trap, you need to rewire how you see progress. The only person you should ever compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Every single day, ask yourself one thing. Did I improve? That's it. Did I win? Did I impress? Not am I ahead of someone else? Am I better today than I was yesterday? Because if the answer is yes, then you're already winning. It's time to shift your focus. Stop looking at what others are achieving and start looking at what you're building. Stop wasting energy on someone else's timeline and start owning yours. The moment you do this, you take back your power. You stop letting outside forces dictate your worth. You stop chasing validation that doesn't matter. And most importantly, you start actually living. Most people will never break free from this cycle. They will continue measuring their lives against an illusion, always feeling behind, always feeling like they need to do more. But a rare few, will wake up. They will see a comparison for what it is, a trap designed to keep them distracted, insecure, and never satisfied. And once they step out of it, once they focus on their path, they will realize something life-changing. They were never behind. They were never lacking. They were simply looking in the wrong direction all along. 3. You can't control the world. A storm can wipe out an entire city. The wind does not ask permission. The rain does not care who it falls upon. The world moves, indifferent to who stands in its way. This is the nature of life, unpredictable, chaotic, and uncontrollable. Yet most people spend their lives fighting reality, resisting the inevitable, hoping they can bend the world to their will. They get frustrated when things don't go as planned. They get angry when people don't treat them as they expect. They let external events dictate their emotions, their peace, their power. But here's the truth. You don't control the storm. You only control how you stand in the rain. A man loses his job and spirals into self-pity. Another loses his job and sees it as a chance to build something greater. Same event, different reaction. One remains a victim. The other becomes unstoppable. The difference? Mindset. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the vast Roman Empire, faced betrayals, wars, and plagues. But instead of wasting time complaining, he reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Power isn't found in controlling the world. It's found in controlling yourself. A woman is cut off in traffic. Her blood boils. She screams at the windshield, grip tightening around the wheel. The man in the next car is also cut off. He shrugs, turns up the music, and keeps driving. Same event, different reaction. One ruins their day. The other moves on without a second thought. Most people react automatically. They let emotions take over, allow anger to control them, let fear dictate their choices. They give complete power to things they have no control over. And in doing so, they waste energy, drain their mental resilience, and invite stress into their lives. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-philosopher, taught a simple but life-changing idea. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. You don't control the economy. You don't control how people treat you. You don't control whether today will bring fortune or disaster, but you do control how you respond. This is why the greatest leaders, warriors, and thinkers develop emotional intelligence and mental discipline. They don't waste time on what they cannot change. Instead, they master their perception, focus, and response. A soldier in battle can't control the bullets flying past him, but he can control how he reacts, whether he panics or keeps his mind sharp. An entrepreneur can't control the market crashing, but he can control his strategy, his effort, and his adaptability. A person facing betrayal can't change what happened, but they can choose whether to hold on to resentment or move forward stronger than before. The difference between those who thrive and those who suffer is not their circumstances, it's their mindset. Take the story of Daniel, a man who had everything, until one day he lost it all. A company he spent 10 years building collapsed overnight. He could have drowned in self-pity, blaming the economy, his investors, or fate. But he didn't. Instead, he sat down, took a deep breath, and asked, "What now?" In that moment, Daniel understood something powerful. He couldn't change the past. He couldn't undo what had happened, but he could decide what came next. Instead of being consumed by anger or regret, he used his energy to rebuild, stronger, smarter, and with more resilience than before. A year later, he was running an even more successful company, not because luck favored him, but because he refused to waste time on what was out of his hands. This is the power of controlling your reaction. If you want to be strong, unshakable in a world of chaos, you must train yourself to master your emotions. This does not mean suppressing them. It means observing them without letting them control you. How do you do this? First, pause before reacting. When something upsets you, do nothing, at least for a few seconds. Take a breath. Let the emotions settle. Then respond deliberately, not emotionally. Second, ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? Most of what angers us is temporary. Someone insults you, the deal falls through, you face rejection. But will it matter in the grand scheme of your life? If not, let it go. Third, redirect your energy toward what you can control. Instead of focusing on the problem, focus on the solution. Instead of blaming circumstances, ask, what's my next best move? The world will never be perfect. It will never move according to your wishes. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Life will throw unexpected challenges at you. But none of that has the power to break you, unless you allow it. Most people live their lives at the mercy of external forces. They complain, they react, they let circumstances dictate their happiness. But a rare few, a small percentage of people, realize the truth. You can't control the world, but you can always control yourself. And when you master this, nothing can shake you. 4. Your emotions are your biggest enemy. Emotions have the power to shape lives, build empires, and destroy them just as quickly. A single moment of anger can cost a career. A few seconds of fear can lead to missed opportunities. One burst of jealousy can ruin relationships. Most people believe emotions are what make them human, but in reality, emotions, when left unchecked, are the biggest source of self-destruction. The moment you let them take over, you stop thinking, stop reasoning, and start reacting. And when you react instead of acting with intention, you give up control. You allow the world to dictate your actions instead of making decisions based on logic, purpose, and wisdom. A man loses his job and spirals into despair. He blames the company, the economy, and bad luck. His anger consumes him, making him bitter and resentful. Another man in the same position takes a deep breath, reassesses his skills, and starts working toward new opportunities. Same event, different reaction. One man remains stuck in the past. The other moves forward and creates a better future. The difference between them was not the situation, it was their mindset. This is why the Stoics emphasized controlling one's emotions above all else. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest leaders in history, faced betrayal, war, and disease. But instead of reacting emotionally, he reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Most people live their lives as prisoners to their emotions. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they spend the next hour angry. They receive a rude comment and allow it to ruin their entire day. They fail once and convince themselves they are a failure. Instead of managing emotions, they let emotions manage them. And in doing so, they give away their power to every little thing that happens around them. The Stoics understood that while we cannot control the external world, we can always control our reaction to it. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." If someone can provoke you, it means you have given them power over your emotions. And when you give away your emotions, you give away your freedom. The science of the mind confirms what the Stoics knew all along. The human brain is wired for emotional reactions, especially under stress. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and anger, often reacts before the rational part of the brain, known as the prefrontal cortex, has a chance to think logically. This is why people say things they regret in the heat of the moment. This is why fear makes people freeze. And this is why those who lack emotional control always find themselves at the mercy of circumstances. But the good news is that the brain is trainable. Just as muscles grow stronger with exercise, so does emotional resilience when practiced regularly. A man named Marcus spent his entire life building a business. He poured everything into it, his time, energy, and years of sacrifice. Then one day, a trusted partner betrayed him. He lost everything. Anger took over. He spent months plotting revenge, consumed by resentment. It poisoned his mind, drained his energy, and ruined relationships. But none of it changed what had happened. His anger did not rebuild his business. His resentment did not fix anything. All it did was keep him stuck in the past, suffering long after the initial event had passed. Compare this to another man, Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison. He could have emerged filled with hatred. He had every reason to be bitter, to seek revenge, to let his anger consume him. But he didn't. Instead, he chose wisdom. He chose to move forward. He chose to focus on what he could control, his actions, his mindset, his response. And because of that, he changed history. If you want to master your emotions, you must first understand that emotions themselves are not the enemy. Fear, anger, and frustration exist for a reason. They are signals telling you that something is wrong. But signals do not require immediate reaction. Instead of letting emotions dictate your actions, you must train yourself to observe them without attachment. Imagine emotions as passing clouds, temporary, shifting, and never permanent. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. Mastering emotions takes practice. The first step is awareness. Before reacting, pause. Take a deep breath. Create space between the event and your response. That small moment of stillness is where power lies. The second step is perspective. Ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? If not, why waste energy on it? Most of what upsets people is insignificant in the long run. The third step is redirection. Instead of focusing on what you cannot change, redirect your energy toward what you can control. Someone insulted you? Let it go. Use that energy to improve yourself. Failed at something? Learn from it. Use that lesson to do better next time. Every time you choose to respond rationally instead of emotionally, you become stronger. Most people will never master this. They will continue being slaves to their emotions, making impulsive decisions, and living in a constant state of reaction. But a rare few will break free. They will choose discipline over impulse, logic over chaos, wisdom over fleeting emotions. And once they do, they will realize something life-changing. Nothing and no one has the power to control them, unless they allow it. 5. Solitude is not your enemy. Most people fear being alone. They fill their days with noise, distractions, and endless conversations, anything to avoid silence. They equate solitude with loneliness, as if being alone means being incomplete. But that's a lie. Solitude is not a punishment. It is not a void. It is the greatest source of power, clarity, and personal growth. The strongest minds in history understood this. They sought solitude, not to escape the world, but to master themselves. A man wakes up, reaches for his phone, checks messages, and scrolls through social media. Before he even steps out of bed, his mind is occupied with other people's lives, opinions, and expectations. He never has a moment to think, truly think, about what he wants, who he is, or where he's going. Every second is consumed by external noise. He never stands alone with his thoughts, and because of that, he never truly knows himself. The Stoics saw solitude not as isolation, but as a tool for strength. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a man who can command himself." How do you command yourself? By stepping away from the noise, stripping away distractions, and facing your own mind. But this is exactly what most people avoid. They fear solitude because it forces them to confront things they would rather ignore, their doubts, insecurities, and weaknesses. A young warrior once approached a philosopher, asking how to develop unshakable strength. The philosopher did not answer. Instead, he led the warrior deep into the mountains, far from the village, far from people, far from anything familiar. "You will stay here for 7 days," he said. "No talking, no distractions, only you and your thoughts." The first day was unbearable. The warrior felt restless, his mind jumping from one thought to the next, craving distractions. By the third day, he felt something different: awareness. He noticed patterns in his thoughts, emotions rising and falling like waves. By the seventh day, he understood. Strength does not come from external validation, status, from approval. It comes from mastering the mind when no one is watching. Most people will never do this. They will continue drowning in distractions, addicted to social validation, and constantly needing to be surrounded by others to feel whole. But the strongest individuals choose solitude. They use it to reflect, strategize, and build inner resilience. They do not seek company to escape themselves. They embrace being alone because they are enough. Science supports what the Stoics taught centuries ago. Studies on mindfulness and mental clarity show that regular solitude improves focus, increases emotional intelligence, and strengthens mental resilience. The most disciplined minds, great leaders, thinkers, and creators prioritize time alone. Why? Because they know that clarity is impossible when the mind is overstimulated. They know that true self-discipline is forged in moments of stillness. There's a reason why Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, would retreat into solitude to write his thoughts. His private journal, Meditations, wasn't written for the world. It was his way of understanding himself, away from the expectations of the empire. He ruled millions, commanded armies, and shaped history. Yet he knew that real power came not from control over others, but from control over himself. But how do you cultivate solitude in a world designed to distract you? The first step is disconnecting from the external noise. Turn off notifications. Step away from meaningless conversations. Stop consuming opinions that do not serve your growth. The second step is spending time alone with intention. This does not mean mindlessly sitting in silence, waiting for answers. It means using solitude to reflect, to learn, to sharpen your mind like a blade. The third step is embracing discomfort. At first, being alone with your thoughts may feel strange. That's because you've spent years avoiding it. But over time, you will see solitude for what it really is, a gateway to self-mastery. Most people will resist this idea. They will convince themselves that they need a constant connection, that they are people persons, and that they can't function alone. But those who truly want to be strong, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, will step away from the noise. They will cultivate solitude, not as an escape, but as a weapon. And when they return to the world, they will move differently. They will speak with conviction, act with clarity, and carry a presence that commands respect. Because a man who is strong in solitude is unshakable in the world. 6. Are you in control, or is the world controlling you? Every day a battle takes place, not on a battlefield but inside your mind. Every decision you make, every emotion you feel, every reaction you have, something is influencing them. But the real question is, are you the one in control? Or are you being controlled without even realizing it? Most people believe they are free thinkers. They assume their choices, opinions, and desires are their own. But look closer. What do you spend most of your time reacting to? The news floods you with fear. Social media dictates what success should look like. Advertisements manipulate your wants. Society hands you a script and expects you to follow it. And slowly, without noticing, you stop thinking for yourself. A man wakes up and reaches for his phone before he even takes his first breath of the morning air. He checks emails, work problems already dictating his stress levels. He scrolls through social media. His mood is now shaped by strangers. He sees the latest news, his thoughts hijacked by narratives designed to provoke. Before he even steps out of bed, his mind has been programmed for the day. Not by him, but by everything else around him. Most people live this way. They wake up and instantly surrender control. Their emotions, their focus, their time, it all belongs to external forces. They let the world pull them in every direction, reacting instead of deciding. But the reaction is not power. Control is. The Stoics understood this long before the modern world drowned people in distractions. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest leaders, reminded himself, a person's life is dyed with the color of their thoughts. What you allow to enter your mind shapes everything: your confidence, your decisions, your ability to think independently. If you do not control what enters, someone else will. Jason, a high-performing executive, always believed he was in charge of his life. He followed every rule of success: networking, chasing promotions, staying ahead. But deep inside, something felt off. His days weren't his own. He worked late because his boss expected it. He maintained connections because society told him he had to. He bought things not because he wanted them, but because he had been conditioned to believe he should. One evening, stuck in another cycle of mindless scrolling, he paused. He asked himself a question he had never asked before. What do I actually want? Silence. No answer. That was the moment Jason realized he had never taken control of his life. He had spent years following a script, thinking he was free when, in reality, he had been controlled the entire time. Most people never reach this realization. They remain trapped, mistaking motion for progress, consumption for knowledge, and reaction for control. They let external forces steer their emotions, dictate their choices, and manipulate their beliefs. But once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. The good news? Control is something you can take back, but it requires action. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to how much of your day is dictated by outside influences. Who controls your emotions? Who dictates what you value? Who decides what success means for you? If the answer isn't you, then you are not in control. The second step is setting mental boundaries. Stop letting every opinion, every piece of news, every distraction invade your mind. You don't need to react to everything. You don't need to engage with negativity. You don't need to let external forces pull your energy in 1,000 directions. Your attention is your most valuable resource. Protect it. The third step is reclaiming your focus. Instead of consuming, start creating. Instead of reacting, start acting. Train your mind to focus on what matters. Read books instead of doom scrolling. Write down your thoughts instead of absorbing everyone else's. Think for yourself instead of letting algorithms decide what's important. Neuroscience supports what the Stoics already knew. Studies on mental resilience and cognitive autonomy show that people who actively manage their focus and thoughts experience lower stress, higher confidence, and better decision-making. The ability to filter out noise and control one's reaction is directly linked to stronger mental clarity and personal growth. Imagine a leaf in the wind, tossed around by forces beyond its control. Now imagine a mountain, standing firm, unmoved by the storm. Which one are you? Most people are leaves, pushed, pulled, and shaped by everything around them, but a select few become the mountain, unshakable, disciplined, in control. Not everyone will choose this path. Most will continue to surrender their minds to the world, never questioning, never realizing how much of their life is not truly their own. But for those who wake up, for those who decide to take back control, the world shifts. Instead of being led, they lead. Instead of reacting, they decide. Instead of existing in the shadows of influence, they step into their own power. Are you the one making the decisions in your life? Or have you simply been following a path designed for you by someone else? The choice is yours, but only if you take control. 7. If you don't control yourself, someone else will discipline is not a choice, it's a necessity. Either you control yourself, or the world will control you. Either you master your emotions, impulses, and thoughts, or someone else will use them against you. This is not an exaggeration. It's the reality of life. Look around. The world is full of people who lack control. They can't focus for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. They react emotionally to every piece of bad news. They chase every impulse, spending money they don't have, eating food that weakens them, and seeking validation that means nothing. They are puppets, controlled by algorithms, marketing tactics, and social pressure. And worst of all, they don't even realize it. A person who cannot control themselves is vulnerable. Their emotions are manipulated, their time is wasted, their energy is drained. They are owned by external forces, corporations that sell them distractions, politicians who use their emotions to gain power, and social structures that dictate their worth. They are not living life on their own terms. They are being used. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Think about that. No man is free, not because of laws, not because of society, but because of their own inability to govern themselves. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. That's an illusion. True freedom is self-discipline, the ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions regardless of external influences. If you don't have that, you are a slave. Not in chains, but in mindset. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he wrote daily about controlling the only thing that truly matters, his own mind. He faced betrayal, war, and suffering, but he did not let these things control him. He trained himself to remain calm, rational, and disciplined, even in chaos. Now compare that to the modern world. People panic over minor inconveniences. They spiral into negativity because of one rude comment. They allow temporary emotions to dictate their long-term decisions. They have no control over themselves, yet they wonder why they feel powerless. The truth is simple. The weaker your self-control, the easier you are to manipulate. If you cannot resist distraction, your focus will belong to whoever demands it first. If you cannot control your emotions, someone else will provoke you into making foolish decisions. If you cannot govern your desires, you will be led by temptation instead of purpose. This is why self-mastery is the foundation of strength. Without it, you are at the mercy of everything around you. With it, you become unshakable. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies on self-discipline and delayed gratification show that people who control themselves achieve more, experience less stress, and live with greater clarity. The famous marshmallow experiment revealed that children who could resist short-term temptation for long-term reward were more successful later in life. This principle applies to everything: wealth, health, relationships, and mental resilience. So the question is, how do you regain control? First, take responsibility. Stop blaming distractions, society, or bad luck. Acknowledge that every decision you make, how you spend your time, what you focus on, how you react, is a choice. And if you don't actively control those choices, someone else will. Second, train discipline like a muscle. Self-control is not about willpower, it's about habits. Structure your life to eliminate unnecessary temptations. Control your environment so you don't have to rely on motivation. The more disciplined you become, the less control the world has over you. Third, delay gratification. Weak minds seek instant pleasure. Strong minds sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term success. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, you take back power. Finally, learn to be immune to external influence. Your emotions are not instructions. Just because you feel anger does not mean you must act on it. Just because you crave something does not mean you must have it. Recognize when you are being manipulated by media, by culture, by your own impulses, and refuse to be controlled. Most people will never do this. They will live their entire lives as slaves to their desires, their emotions, and the expectations of others. They will be controlled, owned, and used by forces they don't even see. But a rare few will wake up. They will take control. They will master themselves. And once they do, the world will never own them again. Which one will you be? 8. Stop chasing validation. You don't need it. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval. They shape their actions, their words, and even their thoughts around one thing. How will others see me? Every decision is filtered through the lens of validation. Will this make me look good? Will people accept me? Will they praise me? But this is a trap, a silent form of control. The moment you need validation, you give others power over you. Your confidence no longer belongs to you, it belongs to their opinions. Your self-worth becomes fragile, dependent on external approval, constantly shifting based on how others react. And here's the brutal truth: the world does not care. People's opinions are temporary, shallow, and often based on their own insecurities. Yet, millions wake up every day, living their lives in service of those opinions. This is not freedom. This is the slavery of the mind. In ancient times, being accepted by the tribe meant survival. Rejection meant danger, possibly even death. That instinct still lingers today, but now it works against you. It keeps you small. It keeps you afraid. It makes you hesitate instead of act, conform instead of stand out, follow instead of lead. Look around. Social media has turned validation into an addiction. People curate their lives for approval, tailoring every post, every picture, every word to ensure maximum acceptance. They seek likes, compliments, and reassurance as if they were essential for existence. If they don't get the validation they crave, they spiral. Self-doubt creeps in, insecurity takes hold, and they begin questioning themselves. But validation is a false currency. It gives you nothing real, nothing lasting. It is an illusion that keeps you running in circles, always chasing but never arriving. Even when you receive it, it never feels like enough. The approval you seek today will be meaningless tomorrow. And the people whose validation you crave? They will forget about you in an instant. The Stoics understood this long before social media existed. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Translation: if you want to grow, you must stop caring how others perceive you. Their approval does not define your success. Their opinions do not determine your worth. If you constantly need external validation, you will never truly live for yourself. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest leaders in history, ruled an empire. Yet he constantly reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The greatest minds in history did not chase validation. They pursued truth, discipline, and mastery. They followed their own path, even when the world disagreed. So what happens when you stop seeking validation? You become free. Free to think independently, free to act without hesitation, free to pursue what actually matters, instead of constantly adjusting yourself to please others. Most people never reach this level of freedom. They are too conditioned to seek approval, too afraid of rejection, too addicted to validation. And so they stay trapped, living half-lives ruled by the opinions of people who do not even matter. This is not just philosophy. Psychology confirms it. Studies on self-esteem and emotional resilience show that people who base their self-worth on external validation experience higher anxiety, lower confidence, and chronic dissatisfaction. They live in a constant state of comparison, never feeling good enough, always seeking approval that will never truly satisfy them. But those who develop internal validation, those who decide their worth from within, are stronger, more resilient, and more fulfilled. They do not seek permission to exist. They do not wait for approval to take action. They simply act. The solution is simple but difficult. Stop asking for permission. Stop looking for approval. Stop living for others. The only opinion that matters is your own. If you believe in something, stand by it, even if the world disagrees. If you want to build something, build it, even if no one understands. If you know what is right, do it, even if you stand alone. Most people will not do this. They will continue chasing validation, trying to please everyone, terrified of disapproval. But a rare few will wake up. They will stop caring about the opinions of strangers. They will break free. And when they do, they will realize something powerful. They never needed approval in the first place. Everything we've explored leads back to one simple truth. Your mind is your strongest weapon, but only if you learn to control it. The world will test you, it will distract you, provoke you, and try to shape your thoughts. But the moment you reclaim your focus, the moment you stop seeking validation, stop reacting impulsively, stop letting external forces dictate your emotions, you become unshakable. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, and modern science confirms it today. Resilience, mental clarity, and inner peace are not given, they are trained. You must practice self-discipline, silence the noise, and master your emotions daily. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. So where do you start? Look inward, observe your mind, recognize what controls you. Then, little by little, take back that control. Set boundaries, strengthen your focus, learn to be still. Because the more you invest in your inner world, the less power the outer world will have over you. Now, I want to hear from you. What moment in your life taught you the power of self-mastery? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story may inspire someone to begin their own journey. Because in the end, the strongest minds are not those who wait for change, but those who create it.